Hello, my name is Caleb Costa, and this is my recording for FBLA Business Ethics National Competition. In today's speech, I will be going over three things. I will be explaining how social media companies utilize your information. I will also be going over whether or not they have become too intrusive and whether or not they are in violation of antitrust statutes. I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. We live in a world that is solely driven by technology. We work, live, and operate around technology. And if you were to look at it from a specific standpoint, you will see that our lives are driven by technology. Amongst all of that, we've come to terms with the fact that our main way of communicating with others is through social media. Allow yourself to take a moment and think about the following question. If the government has a way of monitoring and spying on its citizens, do social media companies have the same power? The answer to this question is simple. The answer is yes, they do. During today's speech, I will be explaining how social media companies utilize your information, whether or not they have become too intrusive, and whether or not they are in violation of antitrust acts. If you're one to use social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, or even Instagram, then you are sure to have noticed that what pops up in your feed is extremely relevant to you. I recently watched a show called Tokyo Ghoul, and I happened to follow a fan art page on Instagram. Well, now my Instagram Explore tab has almost nothing but Tokyo Ghoul posts, along with space, history, Lego, and political posts. But that's besides the point. What these social media companies do is they take and analyze your pins or your likes, and they adapt your feed and suggest pages to follow by using the information they gained through what was analyzed. This topic is deeper explained in the Netflix documentary titled The Social Dilemma. In The Social Dilemma, they take and break down how a social media company operates. In the beginning of this documentary, it is stated that the ultimate objective of all social media companies is to see how much time you spend on their application. They want to see how much of your life they can get you to waste away while staring at the screen. Later on, Jeff Siebert, an interviewee on A Social Dilemma, explains that social media companies operate like a boss does his workers. They analyze how much time you spend looking at a post, how often you look at someone's page, and how much time you spend on the app. Through this, they can determine your state of mind, your emotions, and even your wants. They can determine so many things simply based off of your activity on their app. Once a little research is done, you will come to realize that they do not utilize any, quote, personal information, end quote. You have a choice whether or not you want to use their platform. And if you choose to use it, then whatever information you put on that platform is free game. They can do with it as they please. This is because once you take, quote, personal information, end quote, and put it on a public platform, it is no longer classified as personal. Now allow us to move into a bigger topic. Have these companies become too intrusive? The answer simply has to be determined on your own. After extensive research, I have come to the conclusion that no, social media companies have not become too intrusive. In my previous point, I stated that as soon as you put, quote, personal information, end quote, on social media, it is no longer personal. This is a simple black and white fact. It cannot be negotiated, nor can it be negated. These platforms are public domains created for you to share things with your friends, family, and if you so choose, the world. Yes, you have the choice to make your page public or private, and you have the ability to allow certain people to follow you. But that does not change the fact that it is still public. These apps are ran and owned by large corporations. It is their right to analyze what is being done on their property. Now, if these companies were to start looking at your credit score or your driver's history, then yes, obviously they are becoming way too intrusive. The only people who should be able to view that are those with the legal rights. Moving on, allow me to explain what 2 of the 4 most common relevant antitrust acts are. The first of the 2 is the Sherman Antitrust Act. What the Sherman Act does is it takes monopolizing a market and makes it fully illegal. If this act is to be violated, then the individual at fault can be fined up to $350,000 and be sentenced to up to 3 years in prison. This is according to legalmatch.com. The Clayton Act, the second of the 2, is in place to prevent, quote, mergers and acquisitions to lessen competition, end quote, according to justice.gov. Antitrust laws are designed to protect consumers from predatory business practices. And through the information provided, we can conclude that social media companies are only creating profits in a capitalistic society. When we analyze the preceding information, we use relative background knowledge, along with some common sense, which eludes people nowadays. We can conclude that no, these companies are not in violation of antitrust laws. Consumers should take the time and learn some responsibility for their choices, such as posting personal information on these social media platforms. Mark Zuckerberg recently stated, quote, "The question isn't what do we want to know about people? It's what do people want to tell us about themselves," end quote. Therefore, it is really on the consumer to do their due diligence when using the current technology we have today. With that being said, I see no reason to provide any solutions to the situation, as there are zero problems. Thank you for your time. This concludes my presentation.